what we're here today is to show you the beginnings of the project. When I say beginnings, means nothing has really been set in stone yet. We're really looking for your opinion. We want to make sure we're heading in the right direction. There are some things on here that we've kind of talked about with the city. We talked about, between ourselves and the Department of Transportation, which way we should go. But we really want to present it to you and get your feedback and see what you think. Of course, we have the agenda here, and this is kind of how we're going to flow here today. But if you have a dire question, feel free to just stop me and I can tackle everything on that. So, of course, you may remember we started with the other project at Thompson Creek right at the start of the bend there, and we're finishing up right at Washington Avenue. This one takes it from Washington Avenue to Superior Street. Has a different Department of Transportation ID number. Looks real similar to the last one, but maybe one or two digits different.
And I guess I'll add in there too, there's a little bit confusion that I've heard for phase one was if the project limits are not right at Washington Avenue, it's between Washington Avenue and is that Second Avenue? So it's kind of in the middle of that block. So that gets confusing to some people. So just to clarify that.
Good point, yes. And the same with the end limits, Superior Avenue. We're working through the details on that. People that know the area know there's that kind of pavement change just before you get to Superior. It may end right there, or may go a little bit through that to try and correct the skew on how Superior Avenue comes in. So here we are with kind of even though it says Washington Avenue, we're just like Jessica says, we're really kind of in between there a little bit. And then you see the star there, Superior Avenue. I have it just north of Superior. It might actually end right where it says City of Washington there, where that pavement changes. We haven't quite worked through those details yet. So if you have an opinion on that, I'd love to hear it. So, as you know, it's probably seen that picture a million times in the route, right? Decent amount of vehicles, 7,200 per day. That was back in 2018. A lot of trucks for this route, so that's a good reason why the pavement's in the shape that it is. Those heavier loads tend to wreak havoc on the pavement structure, especially in that spring freeze and thawing cycle. So when we're designing projects, we always talk about purpose and need. What's the purpose? What's the need? We want to have a clear definition of that, so we really understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. This is very similar, purpose and need, to the first phase. We're looking to address the deteriorating storm sewer system, obviously the street, curb and gutter, those sections. And as I mentioned earlier, similar to phase one, sanitary and water main, it may be completed on a separate funding source, but we're not real sure if that's going to happen yet. So that when we talk about the schedule later on, that's why it has two different construction dates. It's kind of dependent on when that funding gets locked up. So with any reconstruction project, there's always alternatives. You can do nothing, you can just keep patching the road. That's kind of the alternative number one. Alternative number two is just resurface. In other words, you're leaving the sidewalk alone, leaving the curb and gutter alone, leaving the signs alone. It's literally you come out to the edge of curb, mill off the pavement, put down new pavement, pavement marking, walking away. It's kind of a slang term we call mill and fill, but that's one type of that. Another one is to do spot repairs on concrete if you have concrete sections. The alternative that we're presenting today is the third alternative, similar to the first phase, where we're doing basically full depth pavement replacement, replacing the base course, the sub-base material below that, and we're also looking to replace the storm sewer, any culvert pipes, and upgrade all the curb ramps. Now, the curb ramps are those areas where the sidewalk comes to the street, and if you've been in area that has newer facilities, you'll see it's kind of got those plates set in the concrete, there are bumps on them. There's been a lot of push from the federal, state level, American Disabilities Acts to get those more standardized, so they're more safer for pedestrians. Pedestrian hits are kind of a rising trend in accidents on facilities, so that's kind of a key component to the third alternative, is getting all those curb ramps up to current standards. So there again, this is just kind of a summary. Again, the third one is the US DOT recommended and preferred alternative, which we're presenting here tonight. So a lot of words here. Basically, this is kind of telling you what we're looking at doing. So it will look very similar to if you've ever been to another community that has had a downtown urban reconstruct project. It's a mess. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You've got, completely pull up the pavement, the curb. You're sometimes digging down as deep as 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet in some areas to get sanitary water in. Storm sewer, I did a project in Spooner, they had to go down 20 feet to get storm in. So it can be a big hole. One of the things that we work with communities, with businesses, is we try and keep them up to speed on what's going on. We have business meetings, we listen to their concerns on their concerns with the project. Much like you probably saw with phase one. This one might need a little bit more on this phase two because the business is a little bit more densely packed. Another key element with this particular project is Legion Park. Of course, the park here with all the flags on it. There may be a temporary impact to that park where we might have to restrict access to it on the State Highway 13 side. You can still get to it from the side streets. There would be a construction fence, just because you know how it is. You don't want to have kids, and construction equipment and all that. We can try and just temporarily separate that. And the biggest thing to note is the second line here is you may need up to a 10-foot strip of temporary land to get things to blend back in, because there's going to be a new sidewalk that goes in front of that. Now there's a bus stop there too, so we also have to address that and how we're going to have temporary access to that if it needs to be moved, which is likely going to be the case temporarily. And the ideal with the park is, when it's all said and done, there won't be any temporary adverse impacts. And what that means is, the average person would not be able to step out there and say, "Oh, that really changed." It's going to look pretty close, just new sidewalk. But that's key with that. There is a very strong potential that we're going to need to buy some permanent right away from the park to get one of those curb ramps in that I talked about. Just because the right of way comes in pretty tight to the existing curb right there, and there just isn't enough room to get the new curb ramps in. So that's a key point of the third bullet. Lastly, we're looking at full closure of the roadway. Access to businesses would be from the alleys, but it will be a segmental work. In other words, they're not going to shut the whole works down. It'll be like phase one, where it's 2, 3, 4 blocks at a time. And the intent right now is to work from Superior towards Washington. However, the contractor, they can propose their own in which way they would like it to work. I've had it changed before, but that is kind of the 30% where we're at here, thought at the time.
You might actually have to go the other way for sewer.
Yeah.
For them
Okay.
to
We
connect
gotta
to
start at
Bayfield.
low points in the sewer system.
Okay, all right. So you might have to go from Washington north, or,
We'll have to coordinate that. There's a couple of low points here and there.
okay. So what Mike was saying is when and if they get funding for the sewer and water, they might have to change that, which is fine. We'll talk through that, but it would still, the intent would still be, certain blocks at a time. So while they're, let's just say they, for instance, we're gonna start from Washington and we're gonna go to First Street. So you would still have full access across Third, all the way up to Superior. It wouldn't be just blocked off right away. We'd just be only in those segments.
But the detour route will stay in effect the entire time.
Yes.
So that it's just you'll be able to cross at those points on the side streets.
Yep, so we do have also a detour map here showing what it would be for state highway traffic. Now, when I say state highway traffic, that is trucking, people that have to take state highway routes. Locals, your city better than anybody, you just figure out your way to go around them. So a little bit more about the impacts. Here we talk about the first bullet on local traffic, where it would be detoured. The intent is to go from 13 Mackay Road back to 13. Large truck traffic, that's state highway semi-traffic. Those are the ones that be detoured. Yes,
It's
question.
Mackey, not Mackay,
Mackie.
and you miss Washington Avenue because you can't really do that without,
Oh, yeah.
unless you take, Washington Avenue
It's
is
13 to Washington to Mackey.
Mackey.
Gotcha, yeah. Thank you. So the next two bullet points here is where we're talking about the potential need for right-of-way, either permanent or temporary. Permanent right-of-way is likely anticipated at some of these corners where the existing right-of-way is very tight to the existing curve. And that need is to install again those curb ramps. There will be like a triangle that kind of cuts across. I can't tell you the exact areas because we're very early design, but I can tell you that it is likely that we will need some. And I can work with you if you're on a corner. We can talk one-on-one and I can kind of give you my best guess at this point. We're also going to be looking at some what's called a temporary limited easement. That is an area, basically what we call it's temporarily paid for land that the state and the contractor use temporarily to blend yards back in the existing. So there's a fee paid to the owner for the temporary use. The contractor then gets to use that land to blend things back in, and when he's done, it just simply goes back to you. So there again, the last point, just kind of reiterate, I can certainly help you with some estimates tonight, very, very rough, but we don't have the total exact amount. That won't be until, I think I have a schedule coming up here.
This fall, winter, probably.
Yes, yep, so November, December, the fourth bullet point, that's my anticipate. We will know for sure what those right-of-way impacts will be. So just kind of go through the timeline here. Here we are at the top, informational meeting, see what your thoughts are on the project. We're hoping that if you have a comment, that if you want to mail it to us, give us a call, send us an email. in those routes. We'd like to try and have those by August 7th. And the reason why is, not to bore you to death, but we have to enter those into what is our public comment record that becomes part of the project. And in order to move forward to the next step, we have to make sure we've addressed any public comments. So we're kind of giving you a deadline there till the 7th. So August and November, we got this complete plans of 60%. Well, what's that mean? Well, basically we're taking your comments if you have any, and we're moving past just kind of a pretty picture on the wall to getting towards something that looks more like this. This is from phase 1, and it's only half the sheets. I only brought part of it because I didn't want to kill it in the trees. So we start getting into more of the actual details, really getting our blend points where we're blending back in. We're figuring out where the curb ramps need to go, where they work. We're coordinating with sanitary and water folks to make sure all these components all blend together. And then, so we talked about the 4th bullet point. Once all that's done, then we put together a right-of-way plat. That's when we know exactly what lands we need, if we need any at all. So that's on November to December of this year. That's when we anticipate we will know that answer. So jumping forward, I know it seems like a lot of time. Well, Vance, 4th bullet point is December 23, and you're talking about final plans almost 2 years after that, August 1st, 2025. Well, it just takes that long. There's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of coordination, businesses, property owners. We get a lot of questions, and rightfully so. How's my driveway going to look? And we work through those issues with you, so you know. And there's a lot of reports and fact checking and estimates that we go through to get to that stage. So here we are at the last bullet point. Like I mentioned, we've got those 2 construction dates. It's pending funding. I don't know if, Mike, you have any update? I don't know how is it.
We are telling people it's going to be 2027. There's no chance for 2026.
Okay, so that's how you feel right now? Okay.
That's fine. And the more we know, we can push it.
Yeah.
When our program hasn't set.
Okay, so the comment was 2027 is more like a likely date, and that is just so they have time to get the funding applications in. You get that sewer and water included with the pack. It just makes sense to do it obviously together. So it's gonna be quite a while. I mean, we're 2023. It's 4 years from now, so a lot can change, as we all know, in that amount of time. So.
I do have a question on going back on the right of way, because those on the phase 1 side went through that this spring, was it?
Yes.
Yes. So basically the process, so people can understand that a little bit better, is there will be a surveyor that will be coming around and putting stakes in people's yards.
This spring, probably this coming spring.
In the coming spring, and then after that, then everyone will receive a certified packet in the mail, which basically outlines what they would actually be taking either temporarily or permanently, and putting together what the price is and giving a chance for people to review that. So that would happen next spring, and then you would have a meeting for people if they have questions sometime probably during the summer.
Yeah.
And then they all sign it, and checks are distributed. Everyone on the phase 1 already got their money.
Yeah.
So
it takes a while. So it's our real estate unit that will come in and do that. So they're actually real estate people that will come in. From the time of staking to getting your check, 6 to 8 months, maybe longer. It depends on how everything goes, but, we'd like to get it done prior to that 2025 date that we have up there.
Yeah. Just gonna pause here real quick, in case I didn't notice, did anybody come in after we started that needs the backup? Approximately where did you come in on? Oh, no, okay.
20 minutes in.
Okay. We can, why don't we meet one-on-one afterwards, and I can,
That's okay.
otherwise, the information in the handout is,
Pretty up to date.
yeah. We made a few changes already, just talking here on some of the dates and so on, but we can walk you through that. Okay, so, So-
Back to this together.
oh, you want to, okay?
Yeah.
Just looking the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
so
You want to go ahead and handle that one?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Just throwing this one up there because we know there are businesses that are gonna be impacted. This is a great resource to use. It was just updated in 2021, so it's a lot better than what it used to be. And basically, it's just tips and tricks on how to keep people coming to your businesses. I believe, is Melissa still chamber? Melissa Martinez, she's been working closely with us for phase 1, and she's got some great ideas out there for those businesses, so I'm sure she's gonna be stepping in and talking with businesses for phase 2 as well. There's examples in there of what other communities have done to get people to keep their businesses open and people coming in during a closure like this one. So. And really easy to find. Again, just go to the WISDOT website and type in this together and it'll pop right up.
So the last slide here is, and this information is in the packet too, but just kind of some contact information here. We've got aerial roll plot up here. You can come up and take a look. You might see some stickers on it. That's just me. If somebody has a question, I'll put a sticker on there. That's all that means. So I keep track of it. We've also got the same thing here on this table, just doesn't have the aerial. We've got, if you really want to dive into some of them, we've got some very basic preliminary plans that we can look at and do things more in depth. We've got the proposed detour route right here. Also on this map, there's some typical sections, although this really only shows up to 3rd Avenue. 3rd to the north is essentially we're going to be putting back basically what's there today, save for some improvements with sidewalk and some intersection improvements. I also, if anybody has questions in the first phase, like I said, I brought that big slug of plans too. So, yes, you have a question?
If I'm reading this right, it'll be probably at least 50 years from the time the original concrete was laid till this project was done, because it was done, 74. So do you know, with what you're proposing now, about how long that's expected to last, given the wear and tear that we have today?
When we, part of the design process is called a life cycle analysis, and what that does is it's trying to predict how long a surface is going to last. Typically, any road, the magic number is 20 years. And usually what happens is traffic starts to dictate, the volume of traffic could exceed what is out here. But concrete lasts longer. It all depends on changes. If the traffic trends stay like they are today, the surface probably wouldn't need its first maintenance cycle for what, 15, 20 years?
Yeah. there'll be asphalt overlay over it before it's replaced again, kind of like what's out here now. There is concrete under here, but we put asphalt over it to try and maintain it as well. So we'll do that a few times, but yeah, about 50 years, every 50 years, come in and replace it, the concrete.
Is there gonna be any repairs done to this street before this construction takes place?
And as of right now, not with this plan, not right now. That'll be,
Jessica, I do wanna follow up and
Yeah.
emphasize that point. I have brought this up with you, and I'm sure, I don't think there's anyone in this room who would probably say that, something shouldn't happen with the highway before, because 4 years from now is a very long time, and you just have to drive up and down, just see how bad it is.
Yeah.
So,
No, and I guess I should say, with this plan, there's not going to be any updates. Not saying there won't be, that's, I have brought it up to our maintenance unit, because they're the ones that would be handling that before this project would start. So it has been pushed forward.
So when you say nothing's going to happen, I think people hear
Right,
the potholes aren't going to get filled.
yeah, and
That's what they're hearing.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to maybe expand on that and.
our maintenance will come in and look at it. I can't say that it is or isn't. It's,
They'll fill potholes.
they'll fill potholes like their normal maintenance that they come in and do, but for us and our unit, we don't do continually maintenance. We do these big projects, so it's kind of hard for me to say yes or no. I have brought it up, so we are discussing it, but the normal maintenance that gets done will continue to be done. It's not like they won't stop. And just because this project is coming, but yes.
On the rerouting, we're gonna go from 13, take Mackey to C.
Via Washington Street, yes.
And that's
No, not to see.
semis, heavy trucks, taking that route.
Semis and heavy trucks will come in on 13 and take County C up to Cornucopia and 13 and around. Smaller traffic will be coming in from 13 to Washington to Mackey up to 13.
So you're gonna route small traffic down Washington Avenue.
Correct.
Pass through. And wreck our roads. That we pay for in our township.
Like we're doing with this next one, I mean, this first phase, it's going through Bigelow to Holman to Washington. After the project, we have it set in there that we're gonna do a mill and overlay on those roads. We could look at doing this here as well. I mean, just to throw that out there too. You know, we're in a unique area up here. There's not a lot of state roads, not a lot of county roads. A lot of times on a state project, when we detour, we try to keep it on state roads as much as possible, maybe use county roads if necessary. Here, where it's very unique, we'd have to take them up County C up to Corny and around. You'd never have traffic come in to your town. And so with this detour of using local roads, we are trying to keep traffic in your town to keep your businesses with the traffic flowing and people trying to come in here instead of completely take them on the other side and not even come near.
and Jessica, just so that you're aware on that point, and I don't know if we have any town residents here. So where Washington turns into Mackey, you know, that's in the town of Bayview. So I think I provided you with their contact information. I strongly encourage you to make contact
Yes,
with them
yes.
to discuss that matter. We'll have a discussion about Washington Avenue, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that they do have, I know they have concerns
Yep.
about Mackey Road.
Because that's not city.
Okay. Makes sense.
Did you have a question? I'm sorry,
Yes,
Dan.
I did have a question. I seem to recall, at City Hall seeing, maybe it was for phase one or something, seeing a picture of an intersection where there's, like 3 lanes, where the one lane is to, drive around, on the right or something, or to make a right turn, maybe that's what it is. Are there any of those on here, and would that take away parking whenever there's that turn to the right? Because we only really have a 2-lane road.
I know there's one on Washington that we're doing, a left turn lane.
Correct. Other than that, we were not doing that's in phase one. The only turning lane is on the right-hand side that we are maintaining going into Memorial Park.
Sixth Avenue is the only one.
And that's there, and we are going to maintain that. So that was the only thing that the council has approved. There was only one bump out in this phase that was also approved, and that was at Third. That's where the sidewalk curve would come closer in to make that safer pedestrian crossing and help to slow the traffic.
So parking, just to kind of wrap it up, parking is intended to stay as it is.
Someone's just driving a regular car.
Yep.
And they're headed to Fort Superior and Bayfield. Where do they go? Do they have to go all the way to Cornucopia?
Nope, that's from Washington to Mackey,
And then they go on Mackey?
and then Mackey out to 13,
Okay.
and then continue.
Thank you.
So you mentioned about having like Mackey Road, doing some touch-up work after because of the traffic. What about East Third Street? Because locals and other people will know to go around and go on Third Street to skip the construction. Are there any funds going to be put in to beef up the street after it's been overly used?
Unfortunately, no. With our state funding, we wouldn't be able to do that. It would just be on our detour route that we would be able to do something on.
And has the city decided if they are going to put funds in to fix up the road that's already pretty crappy? After all this traffic goes through?
We haven't gotten that far.
How does a heavy truck coming in from the west that needs to go to one of the businesses in town, how do they get through the maze? Do they just do it on their own, or are they gonna get stopped, or what?
They won't get stopped. We know we've been talking with, like the Ironworks, talking with them and trying to coordinate with them also, but semis that need to make deliveries, we have to let them come through on these local roads during this time. Kinda, like I said, it's not pretty. It's not gonna be pretty, but for the year, but the road's deteriorating now, it'll look fantastic when it's done.
The turning lane on 6, will they be, what type of improvements, the turning lane, will they be putting any like curbs there, or the walkways with the safe crossing areas with the little different pad between the curbs, and how far would that be from the intersection as far as curbs either way on 13 or 6?
Yeah, so on Sixth Avenue, there will be curb improvements around every quadrant,
Okay.
curb and gutter improvements. And just on the side right now that has sidewalk, that will be replaced with sidewalk, with new curb ramps.
Okay, and the south side that just has the turning lane, how will that be,
Just improving the curb and gutter.
and I don't think there's gutters, but will they put
Yes.
curb and gutters
Yes.
directly
Yep.
to the storm sewers and stuff?
Only in the.
That was my next
I believe
question.
she's,
Is
she just left, so you're
curb
covered.
and gutter going to be added and sidewalks where there are not right now along the highway?
I can talk
Because there's
about
one
Or we
side
can
that does
mention
not have sidewalks.
The plan-
Does not have curb
Yep, the
gutters.
plan shows right now north of Third, and there's some discussion that it needs to be done, but right now we're replacing curb and gutter where it is. So it's not gonna go any farther. Sidewalk is a different issue. As you probably know, it kind of starts and stops and goes away and kind of unusable in spots. The plan right now is to have sidewalk go from Third all the way up to Eighth. That's the thought, just on one side,
Just on the north side.
just on the north, and the northwest
More
side.
you want to add, or?
we eventually, we would like to get sidewalk all the way up to Superior on the north side.
Yeah. That's just some things we gotta look at for that. Yeah.
That's on the one side.
The north side.
On the north
Just the
side.
north side, yes.
Yep, that'll be the yellow highlighted when you get a chance to take a look.
So what does the city think about shoveling that sidewalk? Because the last few winters, it's been like 10 to 15 feet of snow all the way back into the trees.
The current rule is that property owners are responsible for the snow removal of their sidewalk. So that is something that, you don't have sidewalk right now when you're on Bayfield Street. That is something that would be new to address. So, trust me, it's difficult being, as I live on Bayfield Street.
The north side is basically woods there.
So,
Yeah.
Question in the back.
I just have a comment. I live in the town of Bayfield and taking Washington Avenue as a detour is the most dangerous road you can possibly go on. At the end of the blacktop, it's ditch. There's no side roads to go on. There's kids bicycling, there's people walking constantly there. There's nowhere for people to go. And if there's kids out in the road and traffic is that heavy, it's gonna be extremely dangerous. That's just my comment.
East Third would be worse.
There's nowhere for people to go. We have an ambulance on its side out there because they got off too far and there's nothing beyond the blacktop.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have other stuff, I mean, like I said, it's preliminary right now. We know there's not the best route anywhere going through town. So any ideas, let us know, give me a call, email, send it before, let me know.
I am very sorry that I missed everything up until this point.
Oh, you're fine.
I don't know if anybody has inquired about the lighting and if it's gonna be dark sky compliant or, what the light pollution component might be, if it's gonna be more or less than what it is now.
I can answer that question. So, yes, the streetlight design has been selected and streetlights are dark sky compliant. So,
Thank you. That was easy.
but, so just to be clear on that too, the decorative lights are going to go up to, was it, no, I got myself so
Third.
I think
confused.
it was Third.
Third, east?
And the concrete terrace went up to second.
No, it's the other way around.
The decorative lights.
The decorative lights go to second, and then the concrete terrace will go to third.
Okay.
So, and then beyond that, so further out, it's gonna be the same Excel lights that exist.
So the decorative lights are not dark sky, but everything else.
The decorative lights are dark sky
They are?
compliant. Yes.
That is, thank you.
Is there any way to talk to Excel about sending that to their lights going down? Make them compliant?
They are,
Are they already?
yes, they're cut off, so they're LED cut off lights, so.
Will they be adding more lights to, Washington Avenue out to Matthew then?
As of right now, no. That was-
Yes.
Looking at that drawing that you have to the right where the cars are, maybe I'm not looking at it right, but where you have the final, it looks like you have kind of a pitch like this for the water flow, but on top it's different. Is that going to, are you changing the way the water's flowing there?
This is kind of a preliminary typical, this is generally what you want to see in a roadway. There may be cases where we have to keep it the way it is. We haven't gotten into the storm sewer design yet. So we'd like to do it like this because it's easier to split the water. But it may have to be like that. And so now I wish I could answer that better, but I just can't right now. Yes.
So you mentioned that pedestrian fatalities and accidents are on the rise. Is there more discussion like between Washington and like Central where there's a bunch of businesses that are busy all the time, even when it's not tourist season, like getting traffic to slow down in that area because people are crossing there kind of all the time. And I don't know if like the one bump out was set in stone, but if there were more, like if you're going to do anything to make the crosswalks more visible, like just to help prevent something like happening in an area where there's a lot of people walking.
Yeah, it's a national trend where people are being more distracted, both walkers and drivers.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do what we can. Do you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed programs in those areas with the city. Crosswalks will be new paint put down. But I don't think we have anything else really in the works for it right now, just looking at where curb ramps would work best to bring the pedestrians out to the street more so cars can see them. And definitely having brighter crosswalks with white paint will work really well too.
We've had the debate and discussion several times, but it is a difficult balance in trying to make things clearer, more visible, and it is an offset too, because the more of that we add, the less that is available for parking for the businesses as well, and just for the flow of traffic and the turn of larger vehicles to, so it has, because we discussed whether or not bump outs or something like that would be essential, but there are other delivery trucks and vehicles that go down to the marina and so forth, where it would not work very well. So we've had the discussion and it's gone back and forth and just trying to balance as best we can.
How did that come about? They decided for having these, where did that come about? Was that you or city or who proposed that?
So we had a couple months ago, we had a series of public meetings regarding this phase and the amenities for that. Survey was put together, and that information was compiled and presented at a council meeting, and the council made that decision.
Is there any changes coming in the speed limit, or are we gonna keep it slow like it is?
As of right now, if you want to change, I guess you'd have to bring it up to the city, and the city would have to contact us, and I'd have to bring that to our traffic unit to have them do an analysis.
We want it to stay slow, actually.
Yeah, we would not, we won't bump it up, that's for sure.
Okay.
Who wants to go first? Go ahead.
Well, while we're on speed limits, I live on Washington Avenue off the town of Bayfield. When that little spur Mackey Road over to State Highway 13 was paved, our traffic went off the charts out there. And it is not safe. The shoulder is about 6 inches wide, although it looks wider and you think you can pull off, but you can't pull off there. It's a neighborhood, there are kids and bikes and people and strollers and dogs. I understand what I'm hearing is that there's just no other route to detour. If you were to detour in town, the speed limit for that detour would be 25 miles an hour, correct? So I feel that if you're gonna detour out my road past my house, that safety needs to be a priority and that the speed limit should be lowered on Washington Avenue and Mackey Road to 25. It's only a couple of miles. Right now it's 45 and people go by my house at 65 miles an hour all the time, car after car after car. And you're gonna add 7,000 cars a day to my road where I live, and it's not gonna be safe, it's not safe at that speed. So my comment is that speed limit needs to go down and stay down all summer, and it needs to be enforced. That's my comment. It needs, safety needs, every time I see a little kid go by on a bike, and oftentimes by themselves, I am just sick to my stomach watching to see like when the next car is gonna go flying by, and the next pickup truck is gonna go flying by. So
Who
it really
sets the
needs to
speed
come
limit
back.
on that road?
The state. The town is not allowed to lower the
So
speed
that's
limit.
good, I think your idea is very.
I think it should come down and stay down personally, but I'm told that
It's for this
On
area.
Mackey Road, that wouldn't be the state to determine that, that's.
the state sets it at 55 and the town can lower it to 45, but we cannot lower it any further without bringing in the state and having a study done. At which point the state might put it back up to 55. Therefore, we're just powerless and we're just stuck with this 45-mile-an-hour speed limit that everybody violates. So that's my understanding. So I would like to see it come down to 25 and stay there. Quite honestly, there's a lot of people bypassing town. A lot of people don't want to go through town and they go around and they're treating it like a highway. Yeah. So that's my two cents. Yeah. And I think you already heard about the ambulance tipping over out there. And that's somebody that knows that road, right? And is from here and still misjudge the size of the shoulder because when they mow kind of flat, and so it looks like there's a shoulder, but there's not. Sometimes I can't even walk like this with my feet without it. It's dropping off so steeply there, but you can't see it. So that's my input on town meeting. Yep.
And Jessica and I can discuss that.
Yeah.
There's something called a traffic management plan that we have to put together where we look at those things. And now that you brought it up, we'll definitely, we've got it written down here. And we'll address it with the state and possibly the township and see what comes out.
Thank you.
You got it. Go ahead.
I don't know the answer to this, but of course, when you go down, Highway 13 or Bayfield Street as it is now, there are no stop signs, no lights. So if people are not going down that road, but they're going down some of these other roads where people are accustomed to not having, to have as much traffic, you know, you're gonna have more traffic on some of those. Would it be feasible, and I don't know the answer, but you would know better than I would it be feasible to have a temporary stoplight or something at whatever designated point would be safest or easiest? I mean, I don't know.
It might, but then you're also looking at backups as well as something else we have to consider. Right now, 13 is a flow all the way through town. It'd be like just putting a stop sign right here on 13. You're gonna have a pretty big backup. So that's just something we need to look at as well when we're thinking about it. But I know for phase 1, for example, we're kind of gonna switch things around a little bit too on Pullman Drive to keep traffic flowing as much as we possibly can. So we're not causing backups for people driving through and for you locals trying to get somewhere. So it's all a balance that we're looking at.
When you start the construction, you say it's going to go in 2 to 4 block increments. Each of those takes 45 days. When do you start at the beginning of the year and the end?
We're looking at preliminary a full summer. I can't say dates because up here, you never know. We could have snow in July up here. Hopefully, May. They normally say April, May, but I live down in Eau Claire, so that's feasible. Here is probably end of May. Work there and possibly I would say end of October would be feasible.
And just to clarify, each of those segments you anticipate will be completely done before the next one starts, or how is that
No,
sequencing work?
it won't be completely done, like concrete place, sidewalk place, it'll be, like cities coming in, gonna do a few blocks on their water and sanitary, and then we'll come in and put in our storm sewer and our gravel, and while they're moving on to the next section, and then we're kind of, just kind of following along, so more than likely, concrete will only be one, it'll come in at the end, and they'll just do the entire stretch, so.
How aware are you of the amount of traffic that comes through here the first full weekend of October when Bayfield Apple Festival comes to town in the region?
Yep, we've discussed that, phase 1, too. I know the traffic too, I come up, been here, Apple Fest, every year of my life. So I know the traffic that comes through here. More than likely, we're gonna have to have coordination of some sort during construction with, state patrol or something to come in and help traffic, because we know there's gonna be.
20 to 30,000 cars on Mackey Road?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And you guys gotta remember too, phase 1 is going, so these people, the people on Bigelow, that live on Bigelow right now, are gonna be going through the same exact thing that you guys are gonna go through. So, and luckily we have time, we can, make improvements. Not everything is gonna be completely set in stone. So even during construction, if we find an issue, we're gonna be out there trying to fix it and find the best way possible.
Will the equipment and material staging all take place on the project?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to give Mike and Brian from Ayers a moment here to kind of discuss the sewer and water.
Sure, so Mike Stepple with Ayers Associates, we're working with the city on the sewer and water portion of the project. So the DOT is responsible for the roadway, the storm sewer, the sidewalks. At the same time, the water and sewer is going to be done. So what that'll be is new water main pipes, new sewer pipes, new services to the property line. And then it's the homeowner's responsibility if you want to go further than the property line all the way to the house. Most of the businesses that are up to the property line will be coming right to the wall of the business. But if your house is set back or your business is set back, that distance from the right of way to the building then is your responsibility. And we strongly encourage, because what we've seen is many of those old laterals are truly that. They're old materials that, sure, they may be working today, but they're of such an age that they might not be working tomorrow. And to ensure the length that it'll last for many years to come, put the new laterals in as part of the project. Do it all at the same time. So that's new plastic sewers, new plastic or copper water lines to the business. That way you're good for many years to come. So that coordination would be with the local plumber, between yourself and them. The contractor that the city hires only has the ability to go to the property line.
We had just talked before though, to let people know some of the water was replaced in 2005.
Correct.
Along Bayfield Street. So be sure to check your own area because you hate to tear out stuff from 2005.
Right. So we won't plan to do anything that was done that recently. 2005 will be 20 years ago by the time this project comes in, but the new materials, they should last 75 to 100 years. So if it was only done 20 years ago, it should be fine. But if it was done 50 or 70 years ago, some of those older materials are hanging on by
Yeah, I get that, but I just want you keep that in your awareness that there are some new pipes in there. And with all the stress the trees are having right now, with the tent, what do they call it, tent caterpillars?
Spongy mold,
Spongy
yeah.
mold.
Yeah, so we don't want to stress the trees by digging in if they already have new pipes there. Because they may, a lot of them might survive, but the more stress they get, the less chance they have.
So how would someone know if they're, when,
They have a map.
oh,
Yeah.
no, when they're old, if their stuff has been replaced?
They
That's
have
not-
a map.
The city does?
Um,
Okay, well,
we have a map if it was done in 2005.
And will homeowners be sent information
Um,
that if, hey, we're gonna be doing the sewer laterals and the water, if you want yours replaced, now's a good time to do it. And also about maybe the Northwest Regional Planning, they have that homeowners, loan, and it's free for certain incomes, and you don't have to repay it until, or zero, and you don't have to pay it until you sell your home.
Correct.
So is that kind of information gonna also be sent out to people so they don't freak out when they think about having to pay for new sewer and water?
So in answer to that question, we will be sending letters to all the property owners along the second phase of the project that would be impacted by that. We're still dealing with phase one as far as that is concerned, so we haven't gotten into the phase two residents with that. And we're currently putting together information for what is available as far as any sort of assistance and so forth. And that right now we're focused on phase one. There's a couple things we don't even know if we're going to get yet, so we're planning to have information for them probably this fall. So
When is phase one supposed to be starting?
April.
Oh, okay, that.
April, yeah.
This coming year?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Holden Drive will be paved this fall under the project, and then construction on 13 will start next spring.
So the project, phase one is being let August 8th,
Yes.
and the detour route will be paved in calendar 23 in preparation for construction 24.
So when he says let, that means it's, the bidder is actually putting his number, this is how much I'm willing to pay to do the work.
Are there any lead pipes in Washburn now?
Nothing that we have physically documented. With the age of the community, there's probably a likelihood that there might be some, but nothing that anybody ever wrote down back in the days to say we installed lead here. But if you get galvanized pipes coming into your basement, those are old. Those are 70s. And galvanized in the DNR's world is considered to be eligible for funding for lead.
Those will be mandated to be replaced
If you have galvanized.
if you have galvanized.
What is galvanized mean again?
Galvanized is the old iron pipe that had the silver coating on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was a zinc galvanizing.
How would you know if you had that?
You could talk to your plumber. If you're knowledgeable and recognize pipe materials, you could look at it and see if it's
I
copper.
know I don't, but I'm
Okay.
just wondering how.
Talk to your
homeowners
plumber
would
or somebody that knows pipes and they can tell you if it's one or copper or lead
know.
or
Are you waiting until they're
galvanized.
digging up your road and go, you have to replace this?
Right? Because that's one thing is during construction, they'll be able to tell what the rest of the pipe is going to your building. And if it's galvanized, you will get a letter. If it's old Orangeburg clay or cast iron for sewer, it's high time to get rid of those and put PVC in.
No further questions, we can just, I encourage you to come up and take a look. Bend my ear, give me your thoughts, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter, I want to hear them, so. If not, thank you very much, and appreciate you stopping by.
And there is a comment form in the back of the packet. If you want to fill it out, leave it with us, mail it, I can get it.